Investigators say a woman killed her husband and a UNLV professor and then fled to Peru.
Now Rita Colon is back in the valley and charged with murder. Her former brother-in-law told us he finally feels like he and his brother are getting justice 14 years later.
Fox 5's Kyla Gaylor talked to him. She is live at the Henderson Detention Center.
Rita Colon has been sitting in a Peruvian jail for the last 2 years. Now she's sitting at the Henderson jail. Her former brother-in-law told us he's happy she's finally back in the valley to face charges for killing 2 men. But it opens up old wounds about his brother's death 14 years ago.
My last conversation with my brother on the phone
was in February 2005. Luis Colon's last phone call with his big brother never sat well with him. He told me Edwin's new wife chimed in.
She made a comment that she had to smack him.
Edwin and Rita Colon were newlyweds. They dated for 2 months, then eloped. They lived in Vegas. Luis and their parents were in New York. Rita told her new mother-in-law the same thing, that she had to hit him.
She does replay that conversation that she had with my brother over and over. And because that was his last conversation with any one of our family members.
Hours later, he died in his North Las Vegas home. Rita told police Edwin stabbed himself in the neck during an argument. Investigators believed her.
We had to live with that for 14 years, thinking that my brother had committed suicide.
Luis and his parents didn't.
Never got angry, that never had a suicidal thought in his mind.
He just didn't know what happened. He didn't know Leroy Pelton either. Pelton was a retired UNLV professor. In December 2016, he was found stabbed to death in his Henderson home. 1 year later, investigators arrested Rita Colon in Peru and charged her with Leroy Pelton's death.
I could probably describe Leroy Pelton even without having met him.
Luis told me Rita had a type.
Men who were maybe calm, quiet, humble, peaceful men who had a little bit of sense of naivety to them. It's like the biggest example of a black widow.
In 2018, a private investigator called Luis and asked if he knew Rita and knew about Leroy. If she killed Leroy, could she have killed Edwin? For the next year, Luis tried to answer that question.
Reach out to the medical examiners, reach out to the police.
Anyone who would listen. Almost 14 years later to the day, the medical examiner reopened his brother's case. Before Rita was extradited back to the U.S. for Leroy's murder, she was charged with Edwin's.
Nobody knows and nobody realizes the amount of sweat, tears, and emails and phone calls that I had to make to get people to even notice.
Luis told us there were other details North Las Vegas police detectives overlooked, like how his brother was wearing a coat the night he was found dead. He said if detectives ruled his brother's death a homicide back in 2015, Leroy Pelton might still be alive today. Reporting live, Kyla Gaylor, Fox 5 News, local Las Vegas.